Okay, welcome to the third episode of Story Structure Breakdown, where we are studying the movie adaptation of Orwell's novel 1984. Now, if you missed the second episode, just click the link in the description box below and start watching there. In the last episode, you might remember, we talked about primarily about plot questions as being essential elements to a story structure. We even started adding our own plot questions to a story which is really lacking in them. In this episode, we'll continue that conversation, but we're also going to talk about the importance of context in building drama. So let's just jump right into it. Okay, the last episode ended with these two knuckleheads getting hauled off to jail.
Would you like another gin?
No, thank you.
What's the matter? Don't you feel well?
I have a headache. I think I'll skip the community center tonight.
And now the main character, Winston Smith, is acting a little uneasy because he knows that he could be taken to jail too. But the reason this story is so boring is because the previous plot questions have no dramatic power and no urgency to them, as we discussed in previous episodes. And now we see this mysterious woman following him, which is another weak plot question. So what we're going to do is to add our own plot question here.
He seeks sanctuary.
While the woman in the video is stalking Winston Smith, let's talk a little bit about the importance of repetition in story structure. Because what we've just done is add the exact same clip of the mysterious woman that we did in the last episode, so that it gains importance in the reader's mind. If you draw your reader's attention to something once, odds are they won't notice or won't remember. However, if you draw their attention to it twice, they start to think it's important. Now, we'll get more into this later, but for right now, we've repeated a previous plot question so that the reader is wondering at the back of their mind what it has to do with the story as we return to the main plot line now.
Good evening.
Good evening. Remember me?
You're the gentleman that bought that old diary.
Yes. I was just passing by. I looked in.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about what's going on here. We know that Winston Smith has committed a crime that's punishable by death by owning a diary. He's currently being followed by a mysterious woman who may or may not want to report him to the authorities. So this should elevate the dramatic tension. Then, rather than trying to elude this woman, he stops into the place where he bought the illegal diary, which potentially increases the chance that she'll catch him in the act of doing something that's punishable by death. These are all very powerful elements of dramatic structure. However, in the movie version of the novel, they're incredibly boring. In the discussion box below, why don't you tell us why you think these elements of dramatic structure fall flat, and what you do to make them more dramatic, and I'll give you my thoughts a little later. But here's a clue, though. It's all about context.
But then, I'm an old man.
How much is it?
I could let you have it for 15 shillings.
Have you changed?
Yes. Thank you. Oh, there's another room upstairs. There's not much in it, just a few pieces. Perhaps you would care to see it.
Yes, I'd like to.
I'll lead the way. We lived here until my wife died. I'm selling off the furniture little by little.
There's no telescreen here.
Of course not. It's a people's area.
I know, but it seems strange. That's an interesting picture.
It was a church. Do you know that word?
Yes, there were still churches when I was a child. You must have been a grown man before I was born. You can remember what it was like in the days before the revolution.
Yes.
You can remember the oppression and the injustice and the poverty back in the 50s.
Vaguely.
Okay, here we get a little bit more understanding of the context within which this story takes place. Apparently, before this society came about, there was a lot of oppression and injustice and poverty, but we're only told and not actually shown, so it's boring and unimportant. Now, hopefully you've had some thoughts on how to add context to this story to make it more interesting, and you've added them in the discussion box below. If not, do that now. This brings us to the main lesson of today's episode, which is context. Now, you see, things don't have any meaning by themselves. Whether it's a physical thing, a historic event, or even a human being. Things only have meaning within the context of their relationship with other things. Let me show you what I mean. These sheep are all exactly alike. There's no difference, so there's nothing meaningful because they don't exist within a greater context. But these ferrets are not all exactly alike, are they? One of them is significantly taller. He's different. He stands out from the rest. Now, in drama, this means that the reader's attention is drawn to it, and it gives it importance, just like the short video clip of the mysterious woman we added before. You can use the concept of context to do any number of things. For example, to create realistic characters. You may have a teenage boy who dreams of being a rocket scientist, but he lives in a rural mining community where no one shares those dreams. Now, this context adds dramatic power to the story. If he dreamed of being a rocket scientist and he lived in a family of rocket scientists who shared his dream, there'd be no context and consequently no conflict. So remember this, context equals conflict, and conflict is essential to a good story. Now, if you look at the picture of the ferrets again, you may notice a hidden contrast within the context of the group of ferrets, and this is the cat. This juxtaposition in context could be used comedically. You could portray a cat who thinks he's a ferret and the ferrets are just too kind to tell him the truth, or you could use it to create a different kind of tension. Perhaps the ferrets don't realize there's a predator among them, and one by one ferrets end up dying and the ferrets must figure out the mystery. In the play Othello, the character Iago is believed by everyone to be an honest and trustworthy man. Only the audience sees that he's just the opposite and trying to destroy Othello's marriage to Desdemona. So hopefully you're starting to see how important context is in your story structure and how to use it to your advantage. As always, if you're confused about anything or if you have any suggestions on how to make these videos more beneficial to you, please tell me in the discussion box. And while you're at it, why don't you head over to enoveladvisor.com. It's your first step to writing a novel and the last word on marketing it. You'll find the link in the description box below. At eNovel Advisor, you'll find lots of great resources on writing, publishing, and marketing your novel. So, until next time, this is Jim. You have a great day.
Visit enoveladvisor.com to publish your own novel. You really can't go wrong. Learn to write a novel and market it. You will find out how easy it is. Turn your dream of writing into reality. eNovel Advisor has everything you need.